What if the very things you're doing to gain influence are the same things guaranteeing your failure? We're often taught to be agreeable, open, and humble, to give our trust freely and be merciful. But in the unforgiving world of power, these virtues can become fatal flaws. They become weaknesses, just waiting for someone else to exploit them so they can rise at your expense. This isn't a guide for the faint of heart. It's for those who want to understand the brutal realities of influence, not as we wish it were, but as it actually is. We're going to dissect the 7 deadly sins of power dynamics, the critical, often invisible mistakes that will strip you of your authority and leave you powerless. By the end of this, you won't just recognize these self-sabotaging behaviors, you'll understand the Machiavellian strategies needed to navigate the complex game of power, because power is a tool, neither good nor evil, and it's best wielded by those who understand its true nature. The first, and maybe the most underestimated sin, is showing mercy to people who won't hesitate to crush you later. Niccolo Machiavelli warned that misplaced generosity isn't a strength, it's a liability. You extend a hand to someone in a moment of weakness. You forgive a mistake. You offer a second chance. You think this kindness will earn you loyalty. That is a dangerous assumption. In the calculus of power, many people don't see mercy as a gift. They see it as weakness. They'll accept your help and take your resources. But the second they're back on their feet, they won't feel loyalty. They might even feel resentment, because your act of mercy is a permanent reminder of a time they were powerless. People who take your help and later deny it aren't just ungrateful, they're a future threat. A Machiavellian mind gets this. It doesn't deal in gratitude, which is fickle and emotional. It deals in interests and dependence. So before you offer mercy, ask yourself, does this act make them more dependent on me, or does it free them up to act against me later? Real power isn't built on the hope of loyalty. It's built on the strategic cultivation of necessity. Never forget that favors you grant the ambitious are often seen as weaknesses to be exploited, not debts to be repaid. The second deadly sin is cowardice, especially in a leader. This rarely looks like outright panic. It usually cloaks itself in respectable words like caution, prudence, or we need more data. A leader who's afraid of being responsible will do anything to avoid a hard decision. They'll defer to committees, delay action, and seek endless consensus, not because they're being wise, but because they're terrified of being blamed for the outcome. This hesitation creates a power vacuum. And just like nature, ambitious people can't stand a vacuum. When you fail to act, you're sending a clear signal to everyone. You're not in control. Your inability to make a tough call doesn't just stall progress, it destroys confidence. The team loses faith, your rivals see an opening, and your authority starts to crumble from the inside out. Machiavelli would argue that a leader has to be decisive, even if it means risking being wrong. It's far better to make a bold move and deal with the consequences than to be paralyzed by fear. A decision, even a flawed one, projects strength. It tells the world you're at the helm. And in the world of power, appearing to be in control is often just as important as being in control. The sin of cowardice isn't feeling fear, it's letting that fear dictate your actions. A true strategist feels the fear, calculates the risk, and acts anyway. The third deadly sin is indulging in one of the most potent poisons in any court of power: flattery. As a leader, you're always surrounded by voices, but not all of them are equal. The most dangerous are the ones that only tell you what you want to hear. Flattery isn't loyalty, it's manipulation dressed up as admiration. Masters of flattery are students of human vanity. They pinpoint your insecurities and your ego, and they craft their words to soothe one and feed the other. They'll praise your wisdom, applaud every decision, and defend you with a ferocity that feels like true allegiance. But they don't support you, They support what you can give them: access, status, power. Flattery creates a dangerous echo chamber that isolates you from the hard truths you need to hear to survive. It makes you complacent and blind to the threats creeping up on you. Machiavelli knew that a ruler who can't tell the difference between flattery and honest advice is doomed. The antidote isn't to reject all praise, but to build a circle of advisors who know they can tell you the truth, even when it's unpleasant, without getting their heads chopped off. You have to actively seek out disagreement and reward honest criticism. Test the loyalty of those who flatter you. Give them a task that requires sacrifice with no reward, and watch what they do. The flatterer will vanish. The loyal advisor will stay. Remember, loyalty is proven by actions in tough times, not by words in comfortable ones. The fourth deadly sin is a massive tactical error, publicly challenging a superior's authority. This isn't about being a suck-up or hiding your ideas. It's about understanding the theater of power. In many ways, power rests on an illusion, the illusion of unwavering strength. When you openly question or criticize a leader in front of everyone, you aren't just attacking them, you're attacking the very foundation of their authority. This move is disastrous for you, for two reasons. First, it forces the leader to retaliate, not because they disagree with you, but because they have to be seen crushing dissent to maintain their image. By making it public, you've backed them into a corner and left them no room to save face. They have to make an example of you. Second, you show your hand to all your rivals. You expose your ambition and your strategy way too early. The smart player knows that direct confrontation is a clumsy and ineffective tool. The real art of influence is subtle. It's private counsel and building support behind the scenes. If you have to challenge a decision, do it in private. Frame your dissent as helpful advice, not a public rebellion. Never ever corner someone in power. When you do, you leave them with only two options: fight or flight, and people with power rarely choose flight. The graveyards of organizations are filled with the careers of people who were right, but chose the wrong time and place to prove it. The fifth deadly sin is tolerating raw ambition that isn't tied to any real loyalty to you. Ambitious people are powerful tools. They're driven, energetic, and they get things done. But an ambitious person who only serves themselves isn't an asset. They're a future enemy, just waiting for the right moment to make their move. This sin is sneaky, because the disloyally ambitious are masters of disguise. They'll look like your most capable deputies. They'll work harder, achieve more, and seem more dedicated than anyone else. But their allegiance isn't to you or your vision, it's to their own career. They aren't helping you build your kingdom. They're learning its layout so they can one day take the throne. Tolerating this is a critical mistake. You become dependent on their skills while overlooking the signs of their true intentions. They'll subtly take credit for team wins, build their own power base within your organization, and quietly turn people against you. A Machiavellian leader uses ambition, they don't serve it. You have to constantly test the allegiance of your most ambitious people. Give them tasks that serve your goals but offer them no personal glory. See if their enthusiasm suddenly drops. Loyalty isn't about competence, it's about whose interests are really being served. It's better to have a moderately competent but fiercely loyal ally than a brilliant but self-serving operator. That brilliant operator might help you win a few battles, but they'll make sure you lose the war. The sixth deadly sin is letting your opponents use morality as a weapon against you. In the power arena, your rivals will often frame their attacks in the language of ethics. They'll accuse you of being unfair, unjust, or immoral, not because they're saints, but because they know those accusations can disarm you emotionally and drain your support. When you're accused of a moral failing, the natural instinct is to get defensive and try to justify your actions on their terms. This is a trap, The moment you start debating your own morality, you've already lost control of the conversation. You've let your opponent become the judge, and you the one on trial. This is why Machiavelli's philosophy is often called amoral. He knew that to get and keep power, a leader must be willing to act outside of conventional morality when it's necessary. The effective response to an attack on your morality is not to defend your virtue, but to reframe the entire conversation around necessity and results. Don't ask, "Was my action good?" Ask, "Was my action necessary?" Don't debate if a decision was fair to one person. Debate if it was beneficial for the bigger goal. Power requires a cool, pragmatic mind that isn't easily swayed by moral blackmail. While a leader should try to be good, they must never let virtue become the cage their enemies build around them. And that brings us to the seventh and most devastating sin: tolerating, ignoring, or simply misunderstanding betrayal. Betrayal is the cardinal sin of power because it shatters the one thing that allows a leader to operate: trust. And it almost never comes from your enemies. It comes from the people you think are your allies. Machiavelli was brutally clear about this. Loyalty is just a temporary alignment of interests. People are with you as long as it benefits them. The moment your power starts to shake, the moment a crisis hits, that's when you see where their true allegiance lies. In good times, loyalty is easy and cheap. In a crisis, it's the most expensive commodity in the world. Betrayal during these moments is so destructive because it hits you when you're most vulnerable, exposing weaknesses that can cause your authority to completely collapse. The biggest mistake is to trust blindly based on emotions or past favors. Trust must be calculated. You have to constantly ask yourself, what does this person lose if they betray me? If the answer is nothing, you are already in danger. A wise leader doesn't depend on the love of their followers. They depend on structure, leverage, and a healthy fear of the consequences. As Machiavelli famously said, it is much safer to be feared than loved. Love is fickle, but the fear of punishment is constant. Don't be surprised by betrayal. Expect it, plan for it. Create a situation where loyalty is simply more profitable than treachery. This cynical outlook isn't paranoia, it's clarity. In the unforgiving world of power, your goodness won't protect you. Your strategy will. These 7 deadly sins aren't just abstract ideas, they are active forces that dismantle power every single day. They're born from a deep misunderstanding of human nature and how influence really works. To see the world as it is, not as you wish it would be, is the first and most critical step toward mastering it. Recognizing these sins in others, and more importantly, in yourself, isn't about becoming a tyrant. It's about survival. It's about protecting your ability to lead, create, and get what you want in a world where power is always in play. The prince who can't see the dagger behind the smile won't be prince for long. So I'll ask you, which of these 7 sins have you seen most often in your own life? And more importantly, which one do you think is the most dangerous? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to arm yourself with more wisdom on strategy and power, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell.